An influencer is like a trusted friend or family member that one goes to for specific reasons, like to understand international affairs, getting tips on fashion, or advice on what car to buy. Thus today, the recommendations of a social media influencer has much higher value than a celebrity selling a car which he might never drive in real life.
I'm usually driven around by people, but
as a result, companies all over the world are selling their products through social media influencers for higher credibility and better reach. This is called influencer marketing. So, after seeing the success of influencer marketing, some governments thought to themselves, why spend millions of dollars doing propaganda that barely anyone watches if social media influencers can do our propaganda for us? Now let me start by saying there is nothing wrong with governments inviting social media influencers and paying them to do ads and promote events. This is a standard business practice and governments have been paying celebrities and journalists to do ads.
अगर आप शेर दिल हैं तो रहिए शेरों के साथ में कुछ दिन तो गुजारिए गुजरात में
And I don't see why social media influencers should be criticized for doing the same. What is more important is how truthful and transparent both influencers and governments are regarding influencer marketing. The way I see it, if social media influencers and governments are honest about collaborating with each other, then they come under the territory of influencer marketing. At the same time, if content creators and governments lie about working with each other, then they are doing influencer propaganda. To further understand the difference between influencer marketing and influencer propaganda, let us look at 3 countries that have recently experimented with influencers. Let us start with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is infamous for public executions, repression of women, killing of journalists, and having a deeply conservative Islamic society. Apprehensive of Western culture, Saudi Arabia also did not allow tourism in their country, except for Hajj, a pilgrimage to Mecca that only Muslims can attend. This was until 2019, when Saudi Arabia opened up for tourists from all over the world under Vision 2030, a plan by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, to diversify Saudi's economy that is heavily dependent on oil. Okay, so under Vision 2030, Saudi Arabia is also reforming Islam to make it more compatible with Western lifestyle, but that topic is for another video. Anyways, one important part of Vision 2030 is to open Saudi Arabia for leisure tourism and to rebrand the country's image from a repressive authoritarian regime to an exotic tourist destination. Saudi Arabia invited nearly 50 influencers on an all-expense-paid trip to the country.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Saudi Arabia.
We are in Saudi.
On this trip, influencers were taken to heritage sites, helicopter rides, scuba diving, desert camping, music festivals, etc. And in return, these content creators highly praised Saudi Arabia on social media. Needless to say, the influencers who went on the trip got immense backlash from people, saying that they should not have accepted money from an authoritarian regime with abysmal human rights record. Ethical concerns aside regarding accepting money from an authoritarian regime, what these influencers did, in my opinion, comes more in the territory of influencer marketing than influencer propaganda. Here's why. First of all the influencers who went on this trip clearly mentioned that this was a collaboration with the Saudi government through an NGO called Gateway KSA. Second, these influencers, especially YouTubers, were honest about the conservative nature of Saudi Arabia's society. Third, Saudi Arabia was also open about inviting these influencers to promote tourism in their country. Even though the social media influencers who went on this trip did not talk about human rights issues, at least they were honest about why they were in Saudi Arabia, to promote tourism. And this is a good example of influencer marketing. Now let us travel to a country where the lines between influencer marketing and propaganda blurs. Just like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan also has an image problem, but worse. After 9/11, the global image of Pakistan became that of a terrorist state. And things did not improve when Osama bin Laden was found hiding in Abbottabad, Pakistan in 2011. Frequent news of terrorist attacks and violence further kept tourists away. While Saudi Arabia did not want foreign tourists in their country, no one wanted to go to Pakistan. But in 2018, things changed for Pakistan's tourism when a group of adventure travel vloggers started exploring the country on their own. Most popular of them being Eva Zu Beck. Eva traveled to Pakistan in 2018 and began showing the beauty of the country and its people, something that the international media unfairly ignores. And in a country that has been starving for any positive attention, Eva gained immediate stardom. Her subscriber count exploded, and soon she was being invited on national TV to do TED Talks and at events organized by Army. Following Eva's success, international vloggers flocked to Pakistan, showing the beauty of the country, and they were given a VVIP treatment by the Pakistan's government. Okay, so whenever I say Pakistan's government, I actually mean Pakistani Army and its intelligence service ISI. Pakistan is basically a military dictatorship disguised as a democracy, and nothing happens in the country without the consent of army. Anyways, Pakistan's attempt in influencer marketing was a massive success.
In 1 year, our tourism doubled in 2018-19. Tourism doubled.
And it also made it to Conde Nast must-travel list. Conde Nast is a travel magazine. Just like in Saudi Arabia, these vloggers in Pakistan also faced criticism, but for different reasons. These vloggers were mostly criticized by the Pakistani people themselves for not showing the real picture of their country. According to the country's citizens, the image of Pakistan showed by these travel influencers is a very privileged one. In reality, the tourism infrastructure in Pakistan is grossly underdeveloped, and the security situation is also bad.
Contrary to the endless vlogs of happy foreigners floating around the country, Pakistan is actually a pain in the ass to travel in.
Therefore, our normal tourists visiting Pakistan might not have the same experience and access as these vloggers did. Foreign travel vloggers in Pakistan make it seem that their experience in the country is genuine and spontaneous. Yet according to credible sources, influencers like Eva Zu Beck were given heavy military escorts and protection from ISI to vlog at places like Balochistan, a highly militant zone also home to Taliban. And in Balochistan, normal Pakistanis and even journalists are not allowed to go.
What was very obvious is that Eva and quite a few others had access to parts of Pakistan that Pakistanis don't have access to.
And these content creators also do not reveal how much access and security they were provided by the Pakistan's government.
I think there's a bit of a misconception that as foreign travel vloggers, we are given access to more places than local travel bloggers or even just local travelers. And that's not quite true.
Now we clearly know that Pakistan tourism partnered with some foreign influencers. What we do not know is how much these influencers are telling the truth about their experience and access in Pakistan. And will a normal tourist get the same facilities as these vloggers did if they visit the country? So we clearly do not know. Therefore, the case of Pakistan is somewhere between influencer marketing and influencer propaganda. Luckily, we don't have this confusion with our next country, China. China has this thing called the Century of Humiliation. The 100 years between 1849 to 1949 when China was ruled by Western powers and Japan. Because of this, China has an inferiority complex from the European people. And when I mean European, I mean white. Chinese people dislike Europeans because how they colonized them. At the same time, they also value their opinion very much because they colonized them. In Pakistan, this is called Gora complex or a white complex.
As many of you know, Pakistan has a Gora complex, a hangover from the colonial era.
And it is present in all countries that were colonized to some degree. Now let me tell you the difference in Gora complex between China and rest of the countries that were colonized. While most former colonies are slowly getting rid of the so-called Gora complex through education and focusing on values like equality, secularism, love for one's own culture, and interacting more and more with Western people, the Chinese Communist Party is exploiting it. The CCP often uses the century of humiliation in their propaganda to stoke intense nationalism.
The Chinese nation rose up to fight, only to meet with failure. The humiliation reached a new height in 1919 at the Paris Peace Conference, when victorious China was treated like a defeated country.
And hatred towards Western values. So after eating up all this propaganda, what do some Chinese people do? They make white people do humiliating jobs, like dressing up as mermaids in shopping malls, or acting as farm animals. At the same time, as I said before, the word of the white man is also highly valued. Therefore, white people are really popular in Chinese advertising.
I'm Richard from England, European General Agent of the Ginger Boss. I am a very demanding person for food.
And so is the praise from white social media influencers.
I love you, China. We love it, brother.
There are reports that the CCP pays some white foreign influencers to say all the good things about China and the Chinese people. These are called the foreign shills. Now it is alright to make videos about travel and lifestyle in China. But you know that these foreign shills are doing propaganda when they agree with everything that China does. For example, we all know how the Uyghur Muslims are sent to concentration camps in Xinjiang province. There are also reports that there is high possibility that China might be committing a genocide of Muslims in the region. Any normal person would criticize China for this, but not the foreign shills. These influencers either support what's happening in Xinjiang.
The Chinese government is reacting not to Muslims or Islam, not to Uyghurs or Xinjiang. They're reacting to terrorism that has been non-stop for decades. So while China's solution is abrasive and certainly isn't perfect, I struggle to think of what a better solution would be.
Deny it.
But to say there are concentration camps is a lie. To say there are 1 million people interned is also a lie.
Or blame everything on the US.
All the West are hoping to do is to destabilize the area of Xinjiang to stop the rise of China.
Earlier this year, it was reported that China was using Uyghur Muslims as slave labor in Xinjiang province to pick cotton. After that, many prominent brands such as Nike and H&M refused to use cotton from Xinjiang province in their products. Immediately, as the controversy erupted, these foreign shills scrambled to Xinjiang to show everyone how there is no slave labor in the region.
Rise in Xinjiang with his cotton farmer friends, trying to learn about the life.
As if slave labor happens openly. These Western YouTubers in China do lie a lot, and everyone can see right through their propaganda. And the funny thing is, they do not even try to hide it. This is because their content is not for the foreign audience, but for the Chinese people. All of these content creators publish their videos on the Chinese internet and get really popular. And by showing white people loving China, the CCP is simply exploiting the inferiority complex among Chinese people to show that the CCP has made China so powerful that even their colonizers are now respecting it. And therefore, no one in China should question the power of the CCP. In this video, I deliberately examined influencer marketing in 3 authoritarian regimes. If Canada or France was to invite some social media influencers to promote their tourism, it would not make news. This is because these are free democratic countries, and it is considered ethical to do business with them. Doing business with authoritarian regimes, on the other hand, has ethical concerns, and there is bound to be some criticism. So to understand if a content creator is doing influencer marketing or influencer propaganda, we must look out for how much the government and the influencer is transparent about their experience and business dealings. If there is transparency, then that comes under the category of influencer marketing. And if there is confusion and deception, then that comes more in the territory of influencer propaganda. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming out to my vlog. I'll see you soon.